Hello, everyone. Welcome to Free Hands Friday, episode number 33, with our very special guest, Michael Bernier. It's a thrill to have him here. He's made some of my favorite music ever. He doesn't like compliments, so I said he's going to be very uncomfortable for the next hour or so. But we've got some questions for him, and we'd like to hear about some background. What I'd like is if Michael could actually start us off and just give us an overview, and then we'll get a little bit more intense after that. Michael?
Okay. Ask me a specific question, Dean, please.
Okay. All right. Well, you are a multi-instrumentalist. You don't just play a stick. So if you can talk maybe about your history before the stick and then what you've brought to the stick via your influences.
Okay. The very first instrument I played was violin. I think I was 10. It was borrowed from my elementary school, and it was a pity orchestra, just like here, give them an instrument, and I was pulled into the elementary orchestra, and the first song they taught us was "Suicide is Painless" to play to the parents. Meanwhile, at my home, my dad was playing Stravinsky, John Luponti, Jerry Goodman. That's kind of what I was thinking all violin outside of my house would be. So I quickly gave up on that like any 10-year-old would and realized how difficult it was to actually play the violin. Then I started gravitating towards drums. I was a big Stuart Copeland fan. And even though I get razzed about it, a big Neil Peart fan, but I was 12 at that point. I was obsessed with Rush, Billy album, Williams, that sort of thing. So I started playing drums, and then I was very easily distracted, so I found a heat-warped 3-string acoustic guitar in my parents' crawl space in their house that I guess was from my dad's hippie days. So I started trying to play that, but the intonations were obviously horrible. So I thought, use the violin bow on that and started making music. At that point, my parents were like, "Okay, let's buy you a guitar, so that it's at least a tune and something relative that you can actually learn on." And so it was guitar for years, cover bands in high school, and then bass was slowly integrated. Then I moved upstate many years later, about 13 years ago, and started attempting recording. I didn't have anything remotely modern. I had this little Fostex cassette recorder with four inputs. So the makeshift studio was basically using a pair of headphones like this, a passive microphone, and dropping that into the kick drum as my kick mic, and another pair of these, except they were cheaper, from Radio Shack, as an overhead mic for these cymbals and snare. That was my drum sound. And I had a really, really crappy guitar. It was like the Sammy from Sam Ash. I think they sold them for like $98 when I bought them. And the intonations were great up to like the A flat on the E string. So started recording. I didn't own a bass, so I went to my good friend Martin Keith, who's a luthier in upstate New York here. He has, I don't know, 50 basses, so that was the first person I thought of as a resource. I went over to his house and said, "Can I borrow one of your many basses?" And he said, "Sure, just grab one off the wall." And I walked into this room, and it was, like Narnia of stringed instruments. And of course, with all of these basses I could have chosen from, in the corner was this very bizarre-looking instrument. I said, "What's that?" And it was really dusty, too. And he said, "Oh, you don't want to have anything to do with that." "What it? And he goes, it's a stick. I said, what? And and so on. And he told me what it was, and I was just too intrigued. And being duplicitous and kind of fragmented between so many different instruments, it seemed like it would cater to my indecision. So he said, yeah, you can just use the bass side, and you can track your bass on your Fostex 4-track recordings. So brought it home, recorded 4 tracks, and brought it back to him a couple of days later with a recording, returned the stick, and later he returned that to me and said, that's a great recording, and keep the stick.
How long ago was that about?
That was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. 6, 7? Yeah, about 7 years ago, I think. And that was a 10-string. As soon as I got into Stickmen, he showed up at my door and said, I want that stick back.
Of course.
Really odd. Spiteful, I guess. I'm not sure. But, yeah, he suddenly wanted it back, and he said he had interest in playing again, and then it was on eBay a week later.
So now, can you tell us about how you became Tony's Levin's teacher and how it developed into Stickmen?
Yes. Again, with Martin, who's a phenomenal bassist, I was playing guitar and drums kind of off and on in this project that was kind of a hybrid between, I don't know, we do some like Weather Report covers and some Mahavishnu covers, and a couple of my originals, and I'd be alternating on instruments, and we would bring in any utility players who could bear with me moving instrument to instrument. So slowly I integrated the stick into this project, and then we had our like 5 I'm on drums or guitar songs, and then the other 5 songs where I'm on stick. So I had played at a local place here in Kingston down on the waterfront, and in the middle of the performance, I saw a glare in the darkness. No, Tony started approaching the stage, and very recognizable guy. And he sat right in the front row and just sat on his hand and started watching me. No need to be nervous. Played my songs, I was done, and he came up to me. I'm so tempted to do my Tony impression, but I won't. And he said, "Wow, that was great. What you were doing there, and how do you feel about lessons?" And I said, "I'd be honored. I don't know if I could really afford lessons right now. I mean, even this gig we're doing like just for nothing, like the massive publicity of playing at a hipster gallery." And he said, "No. I mean, would you give lessons to me?" At that point, my band kind of retreated into the corner. Like, so I said yes, of course, with the shaky book report in front of the voice, in front of the class voice, and we started getting together. And it wasn't about him trying to improve his bass side playing, which, as we all know, is amazing. He just never really engaged with the guitar side of it. I was doing that two-handed solos, and he wanted to kind of delve into that world. So what wound up, there weren't really lessons. We would get together and just exchange ideas. I would show him something and vice versa. And it was kind of inevitable. We started just playing together at his house, and it's like, that sounds pretty good. That's kind of a song. That's a song too. Why don't we get a drummer? And he said, well, why don't I call Pat? And he called Pat Mastellato, and Pat was like, sure, dude. And that was kind of the birth of Stickmen. It happened like over a week, and we started emailing each other tracks, and it was very quick. We had so many ideas. We had an album's worth of material in about a month. So
That's cool.
Pretty much it.
All right, so I just wanted to ask if I could, you know, when I first heard the Stickmen album, there was first time I heard a bow on a stick.
Yeah.
I never heard anybody do that. Was there like a eureka moment, or was it just experimenting, or how did that come about?
I'd like to say I had some brilliant epiphany where I was in my laboratory and frustrated at 2 in the morning, and there was a lightning storm, and the bow fell off the wall and fell across the stick, and it came to me. But I've always used I have my bows on the wall. I've used bows on everything, trying to get that attack on pretty much every stringed instrument. And of course, the challenge is guitars and basses, and the stick included, don't have an arched fretboard, so I can't do what I do on a cello or a violin on that. But the stick, however, has the 2 outer strings and the obnoxiously large middle bass string, which is just high enough where I can get that. So if I want to play an extremely low frequency cello-esque line, I can do that. So,
hello.
Yeah, it was trial and error.
Okay. You were obviously experimenting with that before the first Stickman album, or did it kind of come around that time?
I was doing it with the band, and I had played a lot of solo shows where I needed little. I wasn't very aware that the stick itself is kind of a step right up, like, novelty item. I mean, that alone is, people see that and they're like, wow, you can play incredibly well, and they won't tell you played well. They'll go, wow, that's an amazing instrument. It sort of almost eclipses the player when people first see it. But I had become so acclimated to it, I hadn't really delved into effects yet and digital textures, so I tried an EBO. David Torn had suggested I try that on it, but it just didn't quite sound right. And then I just tried a regular cello bow with some compression, cathedral reverb, and some very John Luponti delay echo, and it's like, that's it. That's what I want.
That's great, because I see a lot of stick players now using the bow, so I think you've given inspiration to a bunch of people. Does anybody want to ask a question?
I had a question actually on the issue with the bow, or on performing with a bow. I seem to recall an image from the most recent seminar where you were one of the instructors.
Yes.
So explain the class that you did with them with bowing. It looked like everyone was having a great time.
Yeah, they were. It was a great it was a great fish out of water element. If it wasn't overwhelming enough having one of these things in your hands, it takes some getting used to. There's no instant moment of reciprocation when you put a bow on a stick. There's angle, there's the subtleties and finesse to doing it right. So everyone was having fun. At one moment, I really wish I could have recorded it. It was absolute horror for the first 5 minutes. It was these piercing harmonics. I mean, you could drive like Branch Davidians out of a hole. It was magnificently horrible, but beautiful at the same time, because everyone sort of it coalesced into this rhythm of dissonance, complete dissonance, but it sounded very cool. It could have been like Cutting Room Floor, The Shining soundtrack, extra track we never heard. But slowly people started getting the hang of it.
Do you play only one string, or do you play multiple strings, Michael?
Yeah, you can only play the... since I have this here, I play the top outer string.
Okay.
and the lowest bass string.
Okay.
Since I generally have this side affected for leads, I don't have it affected for the bow texture, which is generally just a straight, non-affected. As far as texture, there's no phaser or anything or chorus. It's just a straight feed with some space on it. As soon as you put some reverb on it, it sounds less. It kind of masks the fact that it's a Chapman stick.
Okay. I see.
And you actually use looping a lot as well, especially with the bow. You make some nice, not string quartet, but polyphonic string lines. If you could talk about that a little.
Yeah, that's God, I wish I had set the loop station up. Where was that email, Dean? No. Yeah. Yeah. It because I'm playing on one string, you're forced to do these monophonic lines and melodies, which I exhausted within 5 minutes. So I started messing around with a one of those guys. It's not the most accurate looper, but is that on camera? There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. But for swells and things that aren't perfectly accurate, like if I was playing something in 7, I would never use that. But just for swells and to get a quartet overlapping string mix, it's great for solo work. And it's also what I used on inside the Red Pyramid live when I played with Stickmen, just to set up a complete wash of kind of like Philip Glass atonal strings. So before the other two guys would even start, you'd have this wall of sound, and you couldn't quite tell what I was doing and what was sampled a moment before.
Do you loop on both sides of the stick, or do you stay primarily on the bass side?
It really depends on the project. The project with Richie DiCarlo that I'm involved in right now, I'm trying to keep my gear down to a minimum. When I was on tour with Stickmen, it looked like musician's friend threw up in front of me on stage. So now I'm just trying to have 1 or 2 pedals dedicated to each side of the stick. So I have not looping potential on both sides, but sort of a not infinite delay, but infinite delay. I have to keep an eye on it. If it completely fades out, I'm naked there, and there's no Fripp-esque back wash of soundscapes going on. But the looping is kind of dangerous, only in the sense that when you stop playing, you're forced to be the guy who bends over and volume knobs your song out. So I prefer to have the sort of infinite, not semi-infinite delay going on. So you get about 3 minutes of what's going on either side.
Okay. I'd like to discuss, if you don't mind, your new project with Richie. I saw you both play and met you both for the first time, actually, at the Northeast Stick Seminar in Connecticut. And I think that was the first time when you were aware of each other, but I think that was the first time you actually played, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was the very, very first time we played together.
So tell us about what's going on with that.
Everything is going on with that right now. It's an overnight project. We met, fireworks, it was great. We sound wonderful together. And as a duo, really the most interesting part is trying to not sound like a duo, but still have it come off sincerely so that you can hear these are two people trying very hard to not lose your interest, but also not have the music be contingent on samples and loops where we hit buttons and we go eat pizza and come back and you go like this. So the studio recordings, we have all of this multi-tracking available to us. So the studio albums sound magnificent, but really the challenge for us is the live performances, and we have the show coming up in Mexico on December 7th. So we we keep suggesting songs to each other, but then we realize it's just the two of us. So there's a lot of engineering and re-engineering of things. Like Richie will say, "Hey, why don't we play that song off Soup?" Or why don't we play this song or that song off the album? And then we have to re-engineer it, which is forcing me to become a lot more creative. I never thought I'd have to be more industrious than I was in Stickmen and making a wall of sound, but this is very... if you stop, the song stops on both of our parts. So Richie's a phenomenal drummer, and he's also in that MIDI world that Pat Mastelotto is in. So I'm really glad that I have that to augment everything going on. So God forbid I fall off the stage or something, he can hit a pad and something will happen. It's like, oh wow, something shiny. But it's a very... And it's only the past couple of days where we're ping-ponging the final mixes of the studio album and the live album we just finished, where I'm realizing how good it sounds just for two people. So it's a great new project, and it's humble and small, but it really doesn't sound that way on the recordings. So I'm happy with it.
I mean, the live album sounds huge. I mean, it sounds big, and it sounds fantastic. And if anybody hasn't heard it, I would recommend anybody to get it. It's so good. It's so good.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Anyone?
I was going to ask some more, but I want to give other people an opportunity.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I see more boxes. Everyone's muted.
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay, go ahead, Russ.
Hey, Michael. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about when you got into the stick, what your approach was to learning it. You learn notes? Did you just play and make the connection with the sounds, or how did you get into it at the very beginning?
Okay, that's a great question. When I first looked at the stick, aside from being disgusted at its layout, because it didn't lend itself to me having any associative anchor to guitar or anything. Like, this isn't just a guitar, but bigger. The bass is upside down. What? It's like a MC Escher guitar. I actually looked at that instrument as a drum set. So when I first started playing on it, I kind of relied on inadvertence for happy accidents for the birth of composition. So the bass side, and my whole approach kind of boils down to what I do, like on my steering wheel in my car, just tapping on things, which I've been yelled at since first grade. But looking at the bass side like it's a kick drum, and the guitar side like it's the snare. And, ostensibly, if you're even on the bass side, the left hand is the snare, the right side is the side. So that's where it's sort of things going. So looked at it like a drum set at first, and then from doing that over and over, started realizing what it could actually do note-wise. That's where I kind of brought in my bass and guitar experience into it. But it's just different. I'm not strumming, I'm not picking, so I get to play music in a percussive way. Does that answer the question? I'm horrible at this.
That's perfect. It amazes me the different approaches that people have and the outcome that those approaches produce, based on the individual. So no, it's very cool to know. Thanks.
I know that you don't like to speak in terms of theory much. You prefer to speak in like visceral and broad terms. So the drum aspect makes a lot of sense, the way you approach it as a rhythm. I think you told me one time that you're happy just going on there and just finding. It doesn't even matter what the notes are at first, but finding like a groove or a rhythm that you like, and then you can adapt it later.
Yeah. There's depending upon my mood or inspiration, I can start with just an earwig musical progression in my head and then bring it to the stick or guitar. It really depends on what I think will suit it, but generally if I start thinking about a song holistically, where I've already thought about the percussive aspect, I'll jump right to the stick because that lends itself to expressing all of the chordal ideas that I have, and it's instant gratification. You can hear it rhythmically on that instrument. Not to slight guitar or any other instrument, but I can make the song instantly under my fingers, and then add Richie or add a drummer, and it's basically there. Skeleton is there, and there's the chord, there's the key, there's the rhythm, and it's pretty much intuitive for anyone else joining in at that point.
Okay, cool. I think Per has a question for you.
Yeah, I remember you used this zoom pedal for like repitching a half note or a whole note or whatever. Do you still use that?
I do.
Kind of faking the Holdsworth bends and twang bar thing.
Yes, I'm a fraud. Hold on. Yeah, there's.
It was a really cool idea, I think.
There's this monster, which is hurting my back to. But that's the absurd zoom. It's got volume and expression. It has a lateral expression. So in Stickmen, if you ever heard my solos go up an octave and then up another 8 octaves so that only dolphins and dogs can hear it, it was this moving laterally. So you can pitch shift up octaves and then further. That's pretty much all I ever used this pedal for. So I stopped using that because we were getting charged an extra $50 per flight on tour. So I... will it reach the camera? I don't think it will. No. So now I'm using this, the smaller version. They've actually updated this. But yes, I basically programmed that to do a... Is that too quiet? Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring it up a little bit higher, louder. Just a hair.
Michael, could we also trouble you to point the camera lower down so we can see what you're playing as well?
Of course. Really need to get one of those lap adjustments. Yeah, so each note, not doing anything, the pedal will just take it down a note so you can get that.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always liked the whammy bar on the guitar for that sort of
Floating half and whole step.
Yeah, but
It sounds great, man. That's cool. I've never seen that done. It felt like something off of like Earthworks or
yeah.
one of a kind, you know.
Great.
I mean that in a flattering way. I mean, like, that's awesome. That's how I define it. Anyway.
Oh, now the camera's okay. Yeah, maybe Emmett one day will. Although there's not much meat on the stick to put a tremolo bar, I would certainly.
The tail.
Yeah.
I have a question, but I don't want to step on anybody. Does anybody have anything that they want to ask? Anybody?
Yeah, go.
Oh, I was just going to ask about your composition, because your songs are strong, whether they're on Leviathan, and I wanted to mention your solo albums. You have Leviathan and Veil. They're both a bit different. They're both awesome. The songwriting is really strong. I know people must ask this all the time, but I have to ask. I know there's no one way to do anything, but when you compose, do you compose in your head first a lot of times and go to the instruments, or do you compose on the instruments and let that take over, or both, or any combination?
Hold on, I'll show you.
Okay.
Showing is better.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, how are you, Dean? Sorry, I had some technical difficulties
Okay.
using a new iPhone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is my daughter's 13, but when she was about 7, I bought this guitar for her. It's horrible.
So you write all your songs on that guitar?
Out of convenience.
Yeah.
I'm generally not in a studio or somewhere ideal. You know, I see all these bands, and they're like at the studio, and everyone's got their glasses on, and they're hunched over a Midas board, and there's 15 monitors, and Hal from 2010 is there, and it's just incredibly technical. I'm usually on the couch, and like Pawn Stars just ended, and this is next to me. So I will pick this up and just start writing something that's already in my head, but I'll just find it. And then start exploring voicings. After that, I'll usually address, and I can't help it, I really have to stop doing this, but I always feel compelled to add some unorthodox time signature, and it's probably the prog thing that always resonates into my music. But yeah, an $11.99 Toys R Us guitar is generally what I write most of my stuff on.
So Veil was written on that guitar, huh?
Most of it, yeah.
Wow.
I was going to guess a melodica.
Ocarina.
That's the next album, yes.
And you actually record a lot of your, at least your solo stuff, at home, right? You have a little home studio and you record, right?
Right here, yeah, right where I'm sitting. The monitors are right here. In the attic, I have the drum set. Everything's mic'd, so I'll record stick, guitar, augment with any MIDI soundscapes or samples I've created, tablas, anything like that. Have the click set up, then go up into the attic, pop on headphones, and lay the drums down. That's pretty much it.
When you record the stick or guitars or any kind of electric instrument, do you mic an amplifier or go direct into a computer type of a system?
Sometimes both. I try not to use guitar rig or any of that stuff. It's either mic'd amp or it's an effect from my pedal. Ultimately, because I know if I'm going to go out and play this live, I don't want it to sound disassociated from what you heard on the CD. So I want it to sound kind of familiar texturally. So I try to use what I'm going to use on stage, and I still don't have the confidence in the MacBook. Like Marcus Reuter is happy with a MacBook. If I put a MacBook on stage, it will just crash on me. That's just my luck with computers. I know that if I go to rely on that, something horrible will happen. So I need my tangible knobs and things. One day I'll have the fortune, if I trust in it, to have like a little small Mac and a little pedal station. Be wonderful to walk around with that as your backline. But for now, I need my pedals.
I need my pedals.
I need my pedals. Yeah.
And I was just curious as for your solo albums, the timeline that they fill in, they were after Stickmen, right?
Yes.
Leviathan and Veil.
Yeah, I actually started writing a lot of the stuff on Leviathan while I was in Stickmen. I was writing songs for Stickmen, and well, I was just writing songs for Stickmen, just writing songs, and I happened to be in Stickmen. So what appealed subjectively to Pat and Tony wound up in Stickmen, and what was not really appropriate for the brand of the band, the genre of the band, sort of fell into Leviathan. With the exception of the song Leviathan, which Pat is on, that's sort of like the missing Stickmen song that we just never addressed, and I finished that, and obviously Tony's not on it, I'm doing all of that, but Pat's playing drums on that. So that was the very first track of that album, and then Stickmen continued, and I continued with Leviathan.
And Leviathan and Veil have a different musical feel to both of them. Were you consciously going for anything, or did it just happen?
I feel like Leviathan is almost like a Ween album for me, like a Pavement, Sebado, lo-fi, like what does this button do kind of album. I was just getting into Ableton, and I looked at Pro Tools and Logic, and it was like showing a dog a card trick. Like I was like, too many buttons, and where Ableton seemed like the game Simon to me. I could change the color of things, and it was much more intuitive. So I jumped into that, and things reciprocated very quickly. Leviathan happened almost too quickly, and now when I listen to it, I'm like, I should have, and why did I, and I should have. Where Veil was I'm much more proud of Veil. That was kind of what I had hoped Leviathan would be. So yeah, I don't look at it like a concept album or anything. It's just my goal is that it's evocative, and each track is very different, and that it doesn't necessarily always sound like the same artist track to track, but has continuity of quality. Like there's clearly, like the next song, this guy must know this guy on track one. I'd like it to seem relatively connected, but not the same song rehashed, which I hear a lot of in prog. So, and fusion, or whatever the hell we call this stuff now. But yeah, the goal is just to make it evocative and not alienating, and not too mathletic, where it's, I'm determined that there will be no females in front of me when I perform this live. I want it to be, I want it to be, pretty. Like it's okay. Like it's okay. I get it, and it's prog, and you can play an atonal thing, and people have their calculators and abacus out. Like it's so complicated. You're brilliant, but it should have a complementary part that has the that evokes something like Brian Wilson would write. There's no shame in that. I don't want to be kind of pigeonholed. So yeah, there might be like a Slow Dive or My Bloody Valentine part that follows something that sounds like Gong wrote it. Everything's clearly contrived on my albums. If you listen to enough music. I think everyone's music is, but I just like kind of messing around with those genres, not having them be so similar when they're connected.
I think you're right, because when I play the album to people, Vale I'm talking about, non-musicians enjoy it, which is, I think, a really big compliment, because you don't have to explain anything about it, and they just like it, and they don't say, oh, everything sounds so different. They just take the whole thing in. So, I mean, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback when I played that album in the car and I'm with friends. It's a great record.
Your poor friends. you have the child lock on when you do that?
No, come on now. Anybody have anybody have any questions for Mike? Josh, hey, Josh, you just got here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Any questions? Anybody?
I have another question.
Okay.
I have another question. So, singing. Like, tell me about singing, right? Like singing on albums, not singing live. Like.
My wife, who's in the other room, I've kind of quarantined my family for this. I made them all pee before this started. My
They
wife.
quarantined you, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Pretty much every. I've played in so many different projects. The ones I'm known for, I'm not, or instrumental projects. Mm-hmm. Everything else, I've always been the singer for the project, with the exception of Scarlet Wheel with Stickmen. Indiscipline, I would do with Stickmen, which is talking. It's not really singing. And I think we sang. I sang Thala Hunjinji in Poland once with Trey Gunn, and that was it. That was the only singing I ever did in Stickmen. I like to do it, but it's funny. I prefer to do it when I'm playing guitar, because I can balance my effort. You know, this sort of mechanical thing, percussive, and singing, where if I'm playing stick, it's kind of like trying to sing and do my taxes at the same time. It's just a little too much, and I'm sure that's probably just laziness. I'm sure if I put more effort into it, that there'd be more yield with singing and technical music, but for now, generally the things I sing on will be simpler guitar-based music. But I love to sing. It's just when I'm playing progressive or industrial or Neuen prog. What do we call this now? I don't even know it.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all prog. I mean,
it's all prog, progressive. Yeah.
I mean, right.
Then, yeah, generally I will shut up and just play lots of notes.
Okay. All right.
That's the honest answer, Dean.
What's that? What?
I said that's the honest answer.
Okay, there you go. Is there anything you'd like to play for us? Love to hear you play something.
Well, I wrote this on the bells last week.
Oh, it's Zamfira.
You missed the pre-show. There's nothing I had set up to play. I kind of plugged this in case anyone had questions about technique or.
Well, there you go. Does anyone have any questions about technique? Anyone?
I always have questions about technique.
Josh's got a question. Go ahead, Josh.
Josh already knows everything about technique.
No, I don't. I wish I did. I would be much more well known if I did. So what do you find are your like fallback go-to techniques when you're writing? And like the kind of things where you have to consciously, I think every composer and musician has them. But the kind of things where you have to consciously tell yourself, oh, I have been doing this too much in this project.
Yes. Yeah, I go through that with every song. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, I do feel it's bad to be repetitive. Um, and then there's if it ain't broke, yada yada.
Yeah.
I've lots of successful music, and you're like, wait a minute, that's that last song, but the chord's reversed and it's slower, and he hates his mom in this song. It's like slightly different, but I my habit is I make an effort not to listen to stick music. Is that horrible to say to hear? Because I feel like this instrument has a tendency, and I feel like guitar has a tendency. It's not limitations. It's just you are inclined to conceive of something, and then when you go to translate it on that instrument, it's bound to certain restrictions. So with stick, I immediately think percussion. I'm thinking about velocity, and there was a funny, what's that? The Onion had a funny headline once. Steve Vai impresses the hell out of neighborhood kids. I feel like there's a certain amount of like I don't. I mean, I'm 40. I'm not like 90. Like, hey, it's about the notes, not the speed. But I feel like it really is about melody now. Like my Desert Island album used to be Meantime by Helmet. Now it's like Pet Sounds. Like I want melody. And this instrument being so percussive, it kind of seduces me into playing very quickly. And so, Josh, to answer your question in the longest, most mind-numbing way possible, I try to avoid doing what I can and just try to do what I should to get the song written.
Yeah.
So if there's a melody in my head, I'm trying to show restraint lately on the instrument. There's always going to be fugue or a song where people are like, wow, the end, okay, that's done. But ultimately I want people to feel things from this. And again, the big top freak show instrument initially does make people feel kind of separate from the music you're making. They're just like, wow, what is that? And they're not listening to it. So you have this nice little private place on a CD where people aren't necessarily seeing what's making the music. So I try to look at it that way. Like, it's just about the notes. Don't have them listen to the music and be curious about what's going on. Like, that sounds unorthodox. Like, it's going too fast, or it sounds too technical. So lately, it's kind of month to month, but this month I'm trying not to play too many notes to get to convey a simple melody, which I've done in the past, and it will kind of push people away sometimes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Choose it.
I believe that Russell has a question for you.
Yeah, Michael, you play a bunch of different instruments. How do you work that out? Does it take a while to get warmed up to go to one to the other? What do they share, or what are some of the differences? You mentioned the percussive approach to the stick, but
the approach to the drums and the stick are similar, but the stick is sort of the transitory instrument into my other stringed instruments, like cello, guitar. I've got a sarangi hanging on the wall. I don't. Let me see.
A small animal.
Yes, I just had my sarangi spade. Yeah.
did you kill it with a bow?
Yeah, this is what I've been bowing lately.
Whoa.
The problem, it's funny. if you're on stage and you're playing stick and you've got a bass player across from you who's like, hey, bro, I think you're out of tune. We take 5 and like tune up. You have a stick and you're like, you suck. I have 12 strings, and you have to deal with that. But look at that. Imagine having to tune that thing on the spot.
Well, is that one of those? Is that one of the kind of instruments where like it's out of tune, but nobody can tell, and everybody's like, oh, it's world music?
No, it's out of tune, and you can tell, but you can't tell which string is out of tune until you try to tune one of the 43 strings on it, which is why I'm not on Sarangi.com right now. Yeah, it's a nightmare. I love the way it sounds, but it's incredibly difficult to tune. But that's another bowing instrument. So what I do on this translates to other instruments. The way I play this percussively translates to percussion and piano. So no, there's no warm-up time, or maybe there should. Maybe I sound horrible when I jump to another instrument. I don't know. But yeah,
it sounds like you're comfortable and at home on all of them, which is super cool, and probably rare.
It's just notes, really. I don't necessarily identify with any of these instruments. I think it dawned on me while I was creating a Google name, and it was I had forgotten my password. And when I had first started this, I was like, Michael Bernier, Chapman Stick Player at gmail.com. Yeah. And then I forgot my password, and they were like, what's your first pet's name? What's whatever questions. What was the first concert you went to? And I finally figured it out. And they said create a new name, a new password. And I think I went with Stickist or something. But I mean, I definitely feel connected to the instrument, and it's ironically being one of the lesser known instruments in the world. It's what I'm known for playing, but I don't favor this to make music on. It's just music, but it certainly has a type of expression I cannot get out of other instruments. So I've been exploiting this instrument for the past 5 years because it's easier than picking up this instrument and this instrument and this instrument, and it's all under my hands, and I can go out with a drummer and sound like an orchestra if I write the right composition.
Great. I was wondering, we were talking about your technique, and I was wondering if maybe you could show us a bit of the main riff to fugue and how you approach that. And just maybe you could just show some people maybe slowly and quickly how you do that. Is that okay?
Yes. This seems to be getting lower and lower. Wait 1 second. I think I showed this to you and Dean at the. I'm sorry, you and Josh at the last seminar, right?
So.
Yes.
100% down. That was great.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, guys, I'm not wearing pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is this okay, angle-wise?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you can try this at home. It's to get my giant hands out of the way, but it's a 1, 1, 2. That the whole pattern is just 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. It sounds, you know, intimidating when it's played fast, but it really is just. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. It's breaking up a little bit, but I think the general idea is coming across.
General idea?
Yeah, it is breaking up a little bit hard to hear. But it's cool to watch, man.
Is this better? No?
I don't think it's the volume. I think it's probably the bandwidth, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be, you know.
Whatever mic you're using.
Wow.
I think I'm out of tune.
Sounds fantastic. Wow. I mean, it sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Amazing.
That's cool, man.
Hell on the top side.
So I have a question for you, Michael. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know that you were a fan of Stuart Copeland, right?
Oh yeah.
Were you a fan of Andy Summers or the Police?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious, because like some guys are like, yeah, I like that guy, but that guy's a jerk, or that guy, and
yeah.
Anyway, so I'm also a big fan of the Police and all those guys. But did you ever hear any of the Clark Kent albums with Stuart Copeland?
Yeah, with the big S on the cover.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious, like, if you've had that same experience, because I look at Stuart Copeland, he's a very musical person, and he does all these other kinds of videos with guys that just show up in his studio. Have you guys seen any of these videos that Stuart Copeland has done?
I have not seen the videos, but I do have the vinyl somewhere in my attic.
You have that kind of Stuart Copeland kind of quality where you can play with that kind of precision, and it's still like cool and approachable. Like it doesn't get too far out. Like there's still bass lines in there, which I'm still picking out, which is incredible. In fact, you can hit those and play with that kind of speed. Anyway, so going back to Stuart Copeland, I suppose I kind of, when you mentioned that as an influence, I was like, it kind of made me think of the Police when I was hearing the parts you were playing on the right hand, anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant Aaron Copeland. I'm sorry. Put a right hand on that guy. Yeah, I love Stuart Copeland. And the soundtrack to Rumblefish.
Oh, yeah.
That was that second track. It's like Juju or.
Don't make me dig through my vinyl.
Okay. All right. Anyways, I'll think of it.
So, when can we expect the studio album to be coming out with your new project with Richie?
Yeah.
It's basically done as of way too late last night. He bounced the masters off me. There are a couple of tweaks. I think Monday they're being sent off to be pressed, but everything's mastered, everything's done. I couldn't be happier with it, and so we'll have tangible CDs in about 12 days.
Wow.
It was kind of a rush job because we have a show in Mexico, as I said earlier, so we wanted to have an actual product, some merch to sell down there.
Who's pressing it?
I don't know. No, Richie DiCarlo knows.
Is he okay? I'll ask him, like, because
Yeah, definitely ask Richie, but it's affordable.
okay.
Yeah.
So
And they're right down the street from him. He literally walks it down the street.
oh, then
And
it's probably CD Baby then, because they're in Philly.
it could be.
How about any plans to be touring after the Mexico shows around? Anything coming up?
Yes, I am right now trying to figure out a circuit for South America with the promoter who had originally done the Stickmen tours down there. So be like Buenos Aires, Argentina, back up towards Mexico again, but it's an incredibly large area. So we're thinking like 2 weeks or so down there, hitting the venues that I had played in before, but with Tony and Pat, but with Richie this time.
Okay. What about North America?
Come to Boston.
Oh no, yeah, we're playing one show in Boise. No, we're not. Yeah, they'll certainly. Right now, I think I have 2 shows that are almost confirmed for the Boston area.
When?
But trying to set up a Northeast tour. The date isn't set yet.
Okay.
But they're like, yes. So I'm trying to set up shows around that so that we can have something cohesive for about a week.
Shameless self-promotion. If you do it after the new year, my band could probably open up for you guys.
Who said that? There's too many boxes.
Me.
Oh, thank you. Hand. That's great. So, who are you playing with now, Josh?
This really awesome drummer, Josh Merhar, and John Tyler Kent. If any of you guys were at Free Hands Academy, you probably met him there.
Yeah, he's good.
He's really good, and it's
He's a good songwriter.
yes, and it's the 2 of us on Chapman stick and then drums, and it's crazy. I've never.
Wait a minute. 2 Chapman sticks in one band?
I
don't know. You're playing God, Josh. And two Joshes in one band?
Yeah, I know. It's all fucked up. But yeah, if we should be ready for New Year's. So if you ever need an opener in the Boston area, hit me up, man. Like I know we have.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be happening next week, so we should definitely do something.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, collective force.
Hey, Josh, what's the name of your project?
It's called Geph.
Okay.
Geph, G-E-P-H. You can find us on Facebook.com/GephBand.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Michael?
Well, I was just going to ask about the Kickstarter campaign that you had to finish the album, and
Yes.
How did that go? Was that the first time you did it, and were you happy with the results?
Yes, that paid for all of the CDs that we are pressing through the company I'm not sure of until Josh finds out from Richie. It went well. Yeah, we actually went about 100 over what we needed.
Nice.
So that's the first Kickstarter I've ever been involved in. I always felt kind of scared of even being involved with that. And the only time I ever considered it was like to pay car insurance. But that would be weird. Kickstarter for Michael's Progressive Auto insurance payment.
What would the consolation prizes be?
I'll drive you to the airport sometime.
One free car wreck.
Yes. It was a great success, and I couldn't thank everyone enough. I was actually shocked at how well that worked and how quickly it worked.
Yeah.
It's an amazing concept that I never thought could actually be fruitful, but
Yeah.
people come out of the woodwork and you actually find out how much people love your music and how willing they are to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, it was cool. It worked out.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to say something quick that I just appreciate you being on the show. You know, you've been a great influence to me and a lot of other stick players. I can say that, you know, like a lot of us stick players, Tony Levin was the first stick player I ever saw. But I remember buying a stick and then not playing it for a few years and then hearing the first Stickmen album, Soup, and just wanting to play again, not knowing anything about it. And it was just a great inspiration. You've been a tremendous inspiration to me. You're a really nice person. You make great music. It's an honor. And stop covering your ears.
Thank you, Dean. Awesome.
So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add or.
How do you get your hair so perfect?
You're talking to me, right?
Yeah.
That's the Christopher Walken thing. You just pull it up and let it go.
What's in the aquarium?
Oh yeah.
A giant goldfish.
Really? That thing is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, that's a glub.
Good name.
Yeah, there's.
I actually just thought of something else. You know, you do your artwork for your own albums. You did the cover for Soup and your own stuff. Anything you want to say about that, or?
Our apartment is basically covered in my artwork, and
Was that Steve Adelson hugging something?
what?
Back to the right? Was that Steve Adelson hugging something?
Every person is not Dean or Steve Adelson.
That's just wrong. Steve Adelson hugging me.
And that's the living room. That's my wife, and I'll get off camera now. Yeah. There's artwork all over the apartment, and most of it was made for CDs I'm on or my own. But yeah, all the Soup illustrations and the cover are my artwork, and the T-shirts and stuff.
Cool.
Great.
I like to draw.
When you do your album artwork, do you I know Stickmen, the Soup album is specific to the album, but do you make your artwork for the album, or do you have some stuff that you think would be appropriate that you use already sometimes? How do you do that?
Yeah, it depends on the album, but generally I'm painting peripherally and recording peripherally, and if something lines up, I will usually just pull from the resource of stuff I've already done that seems to fit. But with my solo stuff, it's been more about this robot theme I've been kind of obsessed with, like a Philip K. Dick thing going on.
Yeah.
Meets cartoon world. So, like, Richie just sent me 10 CDs for the Kickstarter patrons, and he said, do a doodle on each one. Okay. So, he actually posted a picture on Facebook of my doodles, but it became this very therapeutic Zen moment. I just started putting artwork on each CD. It became these consecutive little panels in this little robot, do androids dream of electric sheep sequence I was thinking of. And that all ties in with Violet and Veil, but in that style of kind of cartoonesque, the Soup illustrations.
So, Michael, am I to understand that each CD has like hand-drawn art?
For the Kickstarter patrons, the live.
I had like $7 more and got that, or like $20 or whatever it was. Like I think I just got the digital download.
Yeah, talk to Richie. He's the
Right.
organizer of the live show. But if you talk to him, I'm sure that I'll have another pile of blank CDs I get to draw.
Cool.
I find it fun, and they're all very different. But yeah, that's for the live show that was in Philly. The studio album that we're releasing in 10, 12 days has my artwork on the cover. Again, another like dystopian city with a robot looking over the city.
Yeah.
Cover, but it's not. I couldn't possibly make a drawing for each one that's ordered. I would just be, hey guys. Yeah. So yeah, I love that I get to tie that in. You have a visual that correlates to the music.
Great. And anything you want to wind up with, or anything that's going to be happening? That
I have a question. I have one more.
Go ahead.
I have a question I always ask. Well, what is your suggestions, or like what do you recommend for new players, for younger players, or people who are thinking about moving to the Chapman Stick?
Do it.
You got this.
Run.
I assume they have a trust fund. New players moving to the Chapman Stick. Be patient. The goal is to make music on the instrument, not play a Chapman stick. Because I've seen plenty of stick players who, yes, you could easily CGI into the cantina bar in Star Wars, and it's just like another stick player, and it's playing homogenized, it's just the same thing. They're spat out every day, and it's not evocative to me. I think if you have music to make and to offer, it's an amazing instrument to do it on, because you have full frequency, full range of a piano to get that across on. So just be patient with it. Don't be intimidated by it. Don't look at it like it's an upside down bass. It's not. It's a stick, and these are your bass notes. The rest, it's pretty intuitive. And again, you're just dealing with 12 notes cycled. It's not so many notes. It's still the same notes we always deal with. So don't be intimidated by it, and stay in school, stay off drugs, vote. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's scary when you first start playing it, but once you start playing it, you learn that it loves you back after a very short investment.
Cool. Okay.
It's good.
I have to show you guys something really cool. This is my maple stick.
Uh-oh.
Signed by, it's backwards, but signed by Michael.
Oh, that's cool. Now, there's a picture of a stick with your signature on it up on the Chapman Stick page too, right?
Who's that?
Someone's got a stick. I think isn't that the stick that's been signed by Michael up there on Facebook, on the Facebook Chapman Stick page?
I've signed about a dozen sticks and about 40 basses on tour. And for some bizarre reason, I've signed about 100 King Crimson albums. It just feels like I'm peeing on a King Crimson album. Like, there's Tony, there's Pat, and Tony's like, God, I'll do that for you. And he signs it, and Pat's like, sure, dude. And then they give it to me. I'm like, I wasn't even born when this came out. Just sign it. You are magnificent. Okay, and then I sign it. But it always feels wrong. Like, I think I was still in diapers when I heard that for the first time. But yeah, people, and even signing sticks. Sorry, Dean, that just felt like I was defacing your instrument.
No. No.
Yeah. very smart to have someone sign the actual belt clip, because you never know what sordid future they may have.
They want to send it back to you, right?
Well, you can always take the belt clip off if there's some.
Oh yeah.
part-
It's on the belt clip.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, way to end us on a high note there.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I gotta say, like you're kind of hard on yourself, and I think that's kind of definitely the mark of someone who takes their work very seriously. And I definitely feel it in music. Like Dean was saying, I'm sure we all appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it was fun. It was fun. Awesome.
For November, and so what I'll do is let me tell you what's like the next few weeks and months here, and then we'll let you get back to work there. Next week we have a pre-recorded session with Tom Shad, who's out by you, who's the guy who plays in the Blue Man group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's a cool guy, and so you guys will have a lot to talk about. I mean, if you're probably busy, but if ever you see him, I guess he's out your way. He's in New York.
I think I actually had his daughter as a guitar student at the Paul Green Rock Academy where I teach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and he's in education as well. So he does lessons, and he works with these schools and camps and stuff. So.
Right, because I had the stick at the school one day, and she went, "Oh my God, my dad plays that." And I went, "What? In what band?"
Guy, right?
I grew up. I was like, "Okay, well that makes sense."
Yeah, we pre-recorded a session with Tom, and so Andy Prokopik was on that as well. So we just kind of peppered him with questions, and it's really fun.
Right.
21st, one of the cats that was out at the Three of a Perfect Pair camp is Jeremy Neese. So Dean and Jeremy will have kind of a similar session to like what we're having today.
Mm-hmm. I know Jeremy. Yep.
Yeah. So and then on the 28th, Luke Bergeron, who's based out of Maine. Who's so he's like got the second most posts on the Stickest other than Greg, so we all know Luke. And actually, it's going to be Luke and Jen. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a secret, but it's good. But she's getting a Chapman stick as well, so it's like
Awesome.
just couple, woohoo! They live on a dog farm, So we get a window into that whole world, and anyways, and then Boston's all about Josh. So Josh is going to lead some sessions for Boston area players, and he's maybe new to Boston but no stranger to the stick. So like he's got some stuff all lined up, and that'll be cool.
Awesome.
So again, like Dean, everyone, like Dean, I'll let you kind of take us out. I just wanted to kind of do a quick public service announcement there and kind of turn it back over to you, sir.
Great. I just wanted to thank everybody for putting time aside to come in. Thank you very much, Michael. It's great to see you.
It was a pleasure.
I look forward to some more great music and again getting to hang out again, maybe do some more lessons, have some fun. And,
You're welcome. Upstate New York awaits you.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody who came today. And I'm going to take us out. Everyone have a nice week, and we are going to go off the air now. Bye-bye.
Well, happy